stood at his post near the main hall entrance, watching the crowd with careful eyes. The diplomatic station was filled with aliens and humans tonight. Everyone had come for the peace summit between Earth and the Empire. After 3 years of careful talks, both sides were finally ready to sign a treaty. He adjusted his scanner and checked the room again. Everything looked normal. They moved through the hall with their usual grace. They were tall beings, almost 7 feet, with skin that shimmered like pearls under the lights. Their movements were slow and deliberate. Every gesture seemed planned and perfect. Had been briefed about culture for weeks. The most important rule was simple but absolute. Never touch royalty. Not a handshake, not a pat on the shoulder, nothing. If an outsider touched a member of the royal family, both would be executed. No exceptions. The law was thousands of years old. He watched Princess standing near the center of the hall. She was young, maybe equivalent to 16 in human years. She wore flowing robes of deep blue that marked her status. Several guards surrounded her, their eyes constantly scanning for threats. She looked bored, thought. Her face showed no emotion, as was proper for royals, but something in her posture suggested she would rather be anywhere else. The ceremony was about to begin. Human diplomats and nobles gathered around a raised platform. Someone dimmed the lights for a cultural presentation. Scanner beeped softly in his ear. He glanced at the reading and frowned. The gravity stabilizer above the platform was showing unusual fluctuations. His training kicked in, looked up at the ceiling. The massive gravity stabilizer hung suspended above the crowd. These devices were common on space stations, keeping everyone grounded with artificial gravity. But his scanner showed the magnetic locks were failing. Fast. His mind raced through calculations. The device weighed several tons. If it fell, everyone below would die. He looked at the crowd. Princess had moved closer to the platform, right into the danger zone. The guards hadn't noticed. Their scanners didn't check ceiling equipment. Why would they? Everything on the station was supposed to be perfectly maintained. His heart pounded. He had maybe 3 seconds before the locks gave out completely. He could shout a warning, but the music had started. Nobody would hear him in time. They would move too slowly. Their careful, methodical nature meant they would stop to assess the situation first. Princess stood directly beneath the failing stabilizer. Didn't think. His body moved on instinct. He sprinted across the hall, pushing through the crowd. Aliens turned in surprise as the humans shoved past them. 2 seconds. The magnetic locks sparked above. 1 second. He could see the device starting to tilt. He grabbed Princess around the waist and threw both of them sideways. They hit the floor hard as the gravity stabilizer crashed down exactly where she had been standing. The massive device crushed the platform with a thunderous boom. Pieces of metal scattered across the floor. People screamed. Alarms blared throughout the station. For a moment, everything was chaos. Then silence fell over the hall like a heavy blanket. Looked up from where he lay on the floor. Princess was beneath him, his arms still around her from the tackle. Her eyes were wide with shock. He had touched her. The realization hit him like ice water. He quickly pulled away and stood up, hands raised. Every in the room had frozen. They all stared at him with expressions of horror. The princess slowly got to her feet, her robes torn from the fall. She looked then at the crushed platform, then back at him. "Seize him," a guard finally said. His voice was quiet but carried across the silent hall. 4 guards grabbed roughly. He didn't resist. What was the point? He knew the law, he had broken it. The punishment was death. But as they dragged him toward the exit, he looked back at the ruined platform. Metal and electronics sparked where the gravity stabilizer had fallen. If he hadn't acted, Princess would be dead, crushed, gone. He didn't regret it. More guards rushed into the hall. They secured the area and helped shocked guests to their feet. Human diplomats tried to approach, but soldiers blocked their path. Ambassador Min shouted something about human rights and proper trials. They ignored him. Princess stood very still, watching as they took away. Her face showed no emotion, but her hands shook slightly. A tall woman in golden robes swept into the hall. Everyone immediately bowed, recognized her from the briefing files. Queen Ah, the ruler of the empire, the princess's mother. "What happened here?" the queen demanded. A guard explained quickly. The gravity stabilizer had failed. The human had touched the princess. He was being taken to detention for execution. Queen Ah looked at the crushed platform. Her expression was unreadable. "And my daughter?" "Unharmed, Your Majesty," Princess said softly. The human pushed me out of the way. The device would have killed me." The queen's eyes moved too. He met her gaze steadily. He expected to see anger, but instead he saw something else. Confusion maybe, or surprise. "Take him to detention block 7, she ordered. "Post guards. No one speaks to him without my permission, especially not human diplomats." "Your Majesty," Ambassador Min called out. "That man is a citizen of Earth. He deserves a fair trial under our agreement." "He broke law on a station," Queen Ah replied coldly. "The treaty is not yet signed. He will be judged by our laws. His execution is scheduled for dawn." The queen turned to her daughter. "Come, we must discuss what happened." As the guards dragged from the hall, he caught one last glimpse of Princess. She was staring at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Then the doors closed between them. In the detention cell, sat on the narrow bench and waited. His scanner had recorded everything. The equipment failure, the split-second timing, all of it. But he didn't think it would matter. The law was clear. He had touched royalty. The reason didn't change the crime. Outside his cell, he could hear talking in their melodic language. The whole station was in chaos. The summit was ruined. Relations between humans and hung by a thread, and he would be dead in a few hours. Leaned back against the cold wall and closed his eyes. He thought about Earth, about home. He thought about his family. Would they understand why he did it? He hoped so. Because given the choice again, knowing the cost, he would still save her life. Some things were worth dying for. Queen Ah stood in her private chambers, looking at the data on her screen. The night had been long and filled with arguments. Half her court wanted the human executed immediately. The other half worried about the political consequences. Earth might declare war if they killed one of their people for saving a life. But the queen wasn't thinking about politics right now. She was watching security footage of the incident, slowed down to analyze every detail. The human called had exactly 0.3 seconds to react. 0.3. She watched him look up, see the danger, calculate the risk, and move, all in less time than it took her to even process the threat. "Impossible," she whispered. Her own guards, trained since childhood, couldn't move that fast. They were still turning their heads when the human was already halfway across the room. A soft knock came at her door. "Enter," she called. Princess walked in, her eyes red from crying. Rarely showed emotion, but tonight was not a normal night. "Mother, please. He saved my life." "He broke our most sacred law," Queen Ah said quietly. "I would be dead if he followed that law," replied. Her voice shook. The guards didn't see the danger. The other humans didn't move. Only he acted. Only he was fast enough. The queen gestured to the screen. "Come here, watch this." Together they watched the footage again. The queen pointed at the timestamp. 0.3 of a second. That's how long he had to decide. Not even time to think. He just moved. "How is that possible?" asked. "I've been researching human biology," the queen said. She pulled up medical files. "They have something called an adrenaline response. When they sense danger, their bodies flood with chemicals that make them faster and stronger. They don't think in emergencies. They react on instinct." Stared at the files. "We don't have that." "No, we think carefully about every action. It makes us wise but slow. Humans are different. They evolved on a dangerous world, predators everywhere. They survived by being quick and unpredictable." The queen paused. "He didn't choose to save you. His body just did it automatically." "That makes him innocent," said quickly. If he couldn't control it, how can we punish him? The law doesn't care about intent, a voice said from the doorway. High Chancellor Wu Jin entered without being invited. He was old, his pearl skin faded with age. Your Majesty, the court demands action. Execute the human at dawn as scheduled. Show our people that law matters more than sentiment. Queen Ah turned slowly. You enter my private chambers without permission and make demands. Wu Jin bowed slightly, but his eyes showed no real respect. Forgive me, Your Majesty, but the Empire is watching. If you show weakness now, others will think they can break our laws too. Weakness? The Queen's voice grew cold. Tell me, Chancellor, if that device had crushed my daughter, would the Empire be stronger? That's not the point. That's exactly the point. Queen Ah stepped closer to him. Our law exists to protect the sanctity of the royal bloodline, but if following that law means my daughter dies, what good is it? The law is absolute, Wu Jin insisted. It has been for 3,000 years. We cannot change it for one human. Then perhaps it's time we examined why the law exists, the Queen said. She looked at her daughter. Leave us. I need to speak with the Chancellor alone. Princess bowed and left quickly. When the door closed, Queen Ah faced Wu Jin with a hard expression. I've reviewed the maintenance logs for that gravity stabilizer. Someone tampered with it. Someone wanted it to fail. Wu Jin's face remained neutral. An investigation is. I want the human scanner data. He had security equipment. It might have recorded something useful. The human will be executed at dawn. His equipment becomes property of the Empire afterward. Get me that data now, the Queen commanded, before the execution. Wu Jin hesitated, then bowed. As you wish, Your Majesty. After he left, the Queen sat down heavily. She pulled up more files about human behavior. The information fascinated her. Humans were chaos made flesh. They acted on emotion and instinct. They broke rules constantly. They made decisions based on feelings rather than logic. And yet that chaos had saved her daughter's life. An hour before dawn, guards brought to the throne room. He walked calmly between them, his hands bound. Queen Ah sat on her throne, the entire court gathered around her. Human diplomats stood to one side, looking angry and helpless. Ambassador Min had argued for hours, but law was clear. Stopped in front of the throne and met the Queen's eyes. He didn't bow or beg, he just waited. You touched my daughter, Queen Ah said. Her voice echoed in the large room. Yes, replied simply. You knew the punishment. Yes. And yet you did it anyway. Nodded, she would have died. I couldn't let that happen. Why? The Queen asked. You didn't know her, you had no bond with her, she was just an assignment to you. Thought for a moment. She's a person, a kid. I saw danger and I reacted. That's what humans do. We don't stop to think about consequences when someone's life is at stake. We just act. Act without thinking, the Queen repeated. The Chancellor says this makes you primitive, dangerous. Maybe, agreed, but your daughter is alive. A murmur ran through the court. Didn't like such direct talk, especially to royalty. But Queen Ah raised a hand for silence. She stood from her throne and walked down the steps toward. I have studied your species tonight, she said. You are creatures of instinct and emotion. Everything we are taught to suppress, you embrace. You are chaos. Said nothing. But chaos can create as well as destroy. The Queen stopped in front of him. I reviewed your scanner data. The equipment failure was no accident. Someone sabotaged that stabilizer. Someone wanted my daughter dead. Your quick human reflexes prevented an assassination. Gasps came from the court. Even Ambassador Min looked shocked. Our law says you must die for touching royalty, Queen Ah continued. But I am the Queen, I am the law, and I am changing it today, now. Your Majesty, no. High Chancellor Wu Jin stepped forward. You cannot. I invoke the debt of crown, the Queen declared loudly. An ancient right that has not been used in 500 years. When someone saves the life of royalty at great personal cost, their life becomes property of the crown, not the executioner, the crown. She looked at directly. Your life now belongs to me, human. You will serve the royal family until I release you from this debt. You will protect my daughter as her personal guard. You will teach my people about human instinct and quick thinking. And you will help find who tried to murder Princess. The court erupted in arguments. Some looked angry, others seemed confused. The human diplomats looked relieved but cautious. Queen Ah raised her voice over the noise. Anyone who objects may challenge my authority directly. Step forward now. Nobody moved. Even Wu Jin stepped back, his face dark with anger. Then it's decided. The queen nodded to the guards. Release him. Give him quarters in the royal wing. He begins his duties immediately. As they removed restraints, he looked at the queen with genuine surprise. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Queen Ah said quietly. You're about to discover that living among as a human is much harder than dying. She turned and walked back to her throne, leaving standing in the center of the court, alive but bound to a new and uncertain fate. His new quarters were bigger than his entire apartment back on Earth. The room had tall ceilings and walls that shifted colors with the light. Everything was designed for being 7 feet tall, which made him feel like a child in an adult's world. He sat on the enormous bed and tried to process what had happened. He was alive. Against all odds, he was alive. But now he belonged to the royal family. He wasn't sure if that was better or worse than execution. A knock at his door made him stand. Come in. Princess entered quietly. She wore simpler clothes now, not the formal robes from before. She looked young and uncertain. Hello, she said in careful English. May I speak with you? Of course, it's your palace. Gestured to a chair, then realized it was too tall for him to sit comfortably. He grabbed a cushion and sat on the floor instead. Watched this with curiosity. Why do you sit on the floor? Your furniture is too big for me, explained. Humans are shorter than. Oh, she looked embarrassed. I'm sorry, I'll have proper furniture brought. Don't worry about it, smiled. I've dealt with worse. They sat in awkward silence for a moment. Finally spoke. Thank you for saving my life. You're welcome. I wanted to speak at your trial, but Mother said no. She said emotions would cloud the court's judgment. Hands twisted together nervously. I've never been so scared. When I woke up on the floor and saw that device where I had been standing, I knew I should be dead. But you're not, said gently. That's what matters. The court hates you now. Half of them think you're a savage who acted without thinking. The other half thinks Mother was wrong to spare you. Looked at him seriously. This will be very hard for you. Don't like change. They especially don't like humans. Why not? Because you're everything we're not. We value patience and planning. You value speed and instinct. We think before we act. You act before you think. It frightens us. Considered this. But your mother said I need to teach people about human thinking. How am I supposed to do that if everyone's afraid of me? I don't know, admitted. But I'll help you. I want to understand humans better. Maybe if I can learn, I can teach others. Over the next few days began his strange new life. He attended meetings with security forces, trying to explain human security methods. They listened politely but clearly thought his ideas were reckless. When he suggested random patrols instead of scheduled ones, they looked horrified. But how will everyone know where the guards are? A security chief asked. That's the point, explained. If criminals don't know where guards will be, they can't plan around them. That's chaos. That's effective, countered. On Earth, we learned that predictability is dangerous. It makes you an easy target. They discussed this for an hour, analyzing every possible outcome. Wanted to scream. On Earth, they would have tried it already and seen if it worked. Here, they had to debate it endlessly first. His only friend in the palace was Princess. She visited him every day, asking questions about Earth and human behavior. She was endlessly curious about things took for granted. "Why do humans laugh?" she asked one afternoon. They sat in the palace gardens, a huge space filled with alien plants that glowed softly in the filtered sunlight. "Because something is funny," said. "But what purpose does it serve? It doesn't help you survive. It doesn't solve problems." Thought about this. It makes us feel better. It connects us with other people. When we laugh together, we bond. "We don't laugh," said quietly. "We don't show much emotion at all. Mother says it's because we're a logical species. Emotions cloud judgment." "Maybe," said, "but emotions also drive us. They make us care about things. If I was purely logical, I might not have saved you. The logical choice was to let you die and save myself." Stared at him. "That's horrible." "Exactly. Sometimes logic isn't enough. Sometimes you need to feel that something is right or wrong." 3 weeks into his service, something changed. A human transport arrived at the station. Ambassador Min brought someone to meet, a young woman with a bright smile and military bearing. She called out when she saw him, "You're alive." Wu couldn't believe it. They had trained together years ago in the Earth Defense Force. "What are you doing here?" "I heard you got yourself into trouble and convinced my commander to send me. Someone needs to keep you out of more disasters." Wu grinned. She looked around the palace with wide eyes. "Wow, this place is incredible." "It's also incredibly frustrating," muttered. Wu laughed. It was a loud, very human sound that made several guards flinch. "Still can't get used to aliens, huh? They think everything I do is crazy, and I think they're too slow to function. We're barely managing to communicate. That's why I'm here. 2 humans are better than one. We can show them we're not all chaotic maniacs." Wu paused. "Well, you are, but I'm perfectly reasonable." Having Wu around helped. She had a gift for explaining things in ways they understood better. She was patient where was direct. Together, they started making progress. But hadn't forgotten why he was really there. Someone had tried to kill Princess. The Queen wanted him to investigate. So he spent his evenings reviewing security footage and maintenance logs, looking for clues. The gravity stabilizer had been sabotaged professionally. The tampering was subtle, designed to look like normal wear, but Scanner had caught something, a specific tool mark that didn't match any maintenance equipment on file. He brought this to Queen Ah one evening. She listened carefully as he explained what he found. "Someone used a custom tool," said. "That means it wasn't a random maintenance worker. It was someone with access to specialized equipment." "That limits the suspect significantly," the Queen said. She looked troubled. "Can you determine who?" "Give me access to the engineering records. I need to see who ordered custom tools in the last 6 months." The Queen nodded. "You'll have full access, but be careful. If there's a conspiracy, you're now a target too. You stopped their plan once." That night couldn't sleep. He sat in his quarters, scrolling through endless engineering records. Wu had fallen asleep in a chair, exhausted from her first full day at the palace. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of technology. He found the record just before dawn. A custom tool had been ordered by someone with high-level clearance. The name makes blood run cold. High Chancellor Wu Jin. The same person who had demanded its execution. The same person who opposed Queen Ah's decision. It could be coincidence, but didn't believe in coincidences. Not anymore. He needed proof, real, solid proof that would convince the court, because accusing a high chancellor of attempted murder based on a tool order wasn't enough. He would need more. The investigation was just beginning, and realized he was swimming in very dangerous waters. But he had promised the Queen he would find the truth, and humans didn't break their promises. Even if it killed them. Showed the evidence to Queen Ah in her private office. The morning sun filtered through the tall windows, casting strange shadows on the walls. Wu stood beside him, having insisted on being part of this meeting. High Chancellor Wu Jin ordered the custom tool 3 days before the incident, explained, displaying the records on the Queen's screen. The same tool that left marks on the sabotaged gravity stabilizer. Queen Ah studied the data carefully. Her face showed no emotion, but her hands gripped the edge of her desk tightly. This proves he had the tool. It doesn't prove he used it. No, Your Majesty, Wu said respectfully, but it's suspicious enough to investigate further. If we accuse him without absolute proof, he'll deny everything. The court will split into factions. Civil war could follow. The Queen looked at them both. We need more evidence, proof that cannot be questioned. Then let us find it, said. Give Princess and me permission to investigate quietly. Wu Jin doesn't know we suspect him yet. Absolutely not, the Queen said firmly. I won't put my daughter at risk. Mother, I want to help. Princess entered the office without knocking. She must have been listening outside. Has taught me about taking action, about not just thinking and planning but doing. Someone tried to kill me, interrupted. It was incredibly rude by standards, but she didn't care. I have a right to find out who and why, and is right. If Wu Jin's suspects we know, he'll destroy evidence or flee. Queen Ah looked at her daughter for a long moment. Finally, she sighed. You're becoming more human every day. I'm not sure if that's good or bad. She turned to, keep her safe. If anything happens to her, your life debt becomes a death sentence. Understood, said. Over the next week, and Princess worked together carefully. She used her royal status to access areas he couldn't enter. He used his human instincts to notice things missed. Wu helped coordinate their efforts and watched for threats. They discovered that Wu Jin had held secret meetings with several nobles who opposed the peace treaty with Earth. These nobles believed humans were dangerous and unpredictable. They wanted the alliance to fail. If Princess died at the summit, it would destroy relations between our species, explained too. They were in the palace library, speaking quietly among the towering shelves. Father would blame humans. War would follow. So Wu Jin is willing to kill you to prevent peace, felt anger burning in his chest. Why? He's old, said sadly. He grew up in a time when we're isolated. We didn't trust other species. Change frightens him. Fear isn't an excuse for murder. No, agreed, it isn't. They found more evidence. Financial records showing Wu Jin paying a maintenance worker to call in sick the day of the summit. Communication logs between him and the extremist nobles. Security footage showing him near the main hall hours before the ceremony, when he had no official reason to be there. But they needed something definitive, something that would prove his guilt beyond doubt. Princess had an idea. The treaty signing ceremony is in 3 days. Wu Jin will try again, I'm sure of it. This is his last chance to stop the alliance. You want to use yourself as bait, said flatly. Yes. No, and Wu said at the same time. It's the only way, insisted. We set up surveillance, we watch him. When he makes his move, we catch him in the act. Your Majesty will never agree to this, Wu said. Then we don't tell her until after, replied. She looked at directly. You taught me to act on instinct, to do what feels right even when it's dangerous. This feels right. Wanted to argue, but he saw determination in her eyes. She had changed since they met. She was no longer the bored princess standing in a hall. She was someone who had faced death and chose to fight back. Fine, he said reluctantly, but we do this carefully, full security measures, and if anything goes wrong, we abort immediately. The next 3 days were tense, coordinated with loyal guards and human security personnel. Ambassador Min agreed to help, though he looked worried. They installed hidden cameras throughout the ceremony hall. They planned escape routes and emergency protocols. The treaty signing ceremony began in the evening. Dignitaries from both species gathered in the grand hall. Princess wore formal robes again, standing near the signing platform with her mother. Stayed close, wearing human security armor and carrying multiple scanners. Wu positioned herself among the human delegation, her eyes constantly moving across the crowd. They had agreed on hand signals. If she saw anything suspicious, she would alert immediately. For 2 hours, nothing happened. Speeches were made. Documents were prepared. Queen Ah and the human president stepped up to sign the treaty. This was the moment that would officially create the alliance. Then Wu's hand moved, the signal for danger. Scanner beeped urgently. He looked at the readings and felt his heart stop. The environmental systems were being. Someone was flooding the hall with a toxic gas that was lethal to but harmless to humans. If the gas was released now, every in the hall would die. The humans would survive. It would look like humanity had betrayed and murdered the leadership. "Seal the hall," shouted into his communicator. "Environmental breach. Everyone evacuate now." Alarms blared. Guards rushed to close the main doors, but they were locked from the outside. Someone had tampered with the controls. Panic spread through the crowd as began to smell the gas leaking from the vents. Ran to the environmental control panel. His scanners showed the override codes came from inside the palace, from a terminal in the chancellor's office. "It's Wu Jin," he called out. "He's controlling the system remotely." Ambassador Min grabbed human engineers. "Can you stop it?" "Not from here. We need access to the main computer core." "Then we go there," said. He looked at Wu. "Get everyone out through the emergency exits. Break the doors if you have to." Wu nodded and started organizing the evacuation. Guards helped, though many were already feeling the effects of the gas. They moved slowly, their logical minds struggling to process the chaos. "Turn to Princess. Stay with your mother, get to safety." "No," said firmly. "I'm coming with you. I know the palace computer systems better than anyone." There was no time to argue. Together they ran through the palace corridors toward the computer core. Behind them, they heard crashes as humans physically broke down the sealed doors to get people out. They reached the computer core to find High Chancellor Wu Jin standing at the main terminal. He looked up as they entered and for the first time saw emotion on a face. Anger, hatred. "You should have died," Wu Jin said too. "Everything would have been fine if you had just followed the law and died." "Shut down the gas," Princess commanded. "Now." "No, this alliance is poison. Humans will corrupt our entire civilization with their chaos and emotion. Better that we end it now." Wu Jin's hands moved over the terminal. "In minutes, every leader will be dead. The humans will be blamed. War will save us from this alliance." "War will destroy both our species," said. "Then so be it." Didn't think. He acted on instinct just like when he saved the first time. He lunged forward, tackling Wu Jin away from the terminal. The old was strong but slow. They crashed to the floor together. "Shut it down," shouted as he struggled to hold Wu Jin. Princess ran to the terminal. Her hands flew over the controls, using her royal access codes to override the system. The gas flow stopped. The vents sealed. The hall began to clear. Guards rushed into the computer core, summoned by the alarms. They found sitting on High Chancellor Wu Jin, holding him down. The old had stopped struggling, knowing he was caught. Queen Ah entered last, her robes torn from the emergency evacuation. She looked at Wu Jin with cold fury. "You tried to kill my people, my daughter, me." "I tried to save the empire," Wu Jin said, "but you're too blind to see it." "No," the queen said quietly. "You're the blind one. Humans saved us today. A human saved my daughter. A human discovered your plot. A human stopped you. And you still can't see that we're stronger together than apart." She turned to her guards. "Take him to detention. He will face trial for treason and attempted genocide." As they dragged Wu Jin away, helped Princess to her feet. She was shaking from adrenaline, a very human reaction. "You were right," she said quietly. "Sometimes you have to act without thinking. If I had stopped to analyze everything, people would have died." You did good, said, really good. Queen Ah looked at them both. For the first time since they met, she smiled. Come, we have a treaty to sign, and this time nothing will stop us. 6 months had passed since the attempted attack. The treaty signing had finally happened the next day, with even security. Still remembered standing in that hall, watching Queen Ah and the human president sign the documents that officially made their species allies. The court had been shocked when the evidence against Wu Jin became public. His trial lasted 3 weeks, a short time by standards. The proof was overwhelming. Recordings of his meetings with extremist nobles, financial transactions, video of him at the computer core trying to kill everyone in the hall. He was found guilty and sentenced to life in exile on a remote colony world. 12 other nobles who had helped him received similar sentences. The extremist faction was destroyed. But the real change was bigger than just punishing criminals. Stood in a training facility watching his students practice. They were a mix of humans and the first joint security force in history. A guard named Bora was showing a human recruit how to properly scan a room for threats using methods. Meanwhile, a human instructor named taught about rapid response techniques. Looking good, Wu said, walking up beside him. She had been promoted to training coordinator. They're actually starting to work together like a real team. It's amazing how fast things changed, said. 6 months ago, most wouldn't even talk to humans. Now look at them. Wu laughed. You started a revolution by tackling a princess. Most people just fill out paperwork. The door opened and Princess entered. She wore practical clothes now instead of formal robes. She had become the official ambassador for human cultural exchange. Her job was to help both species understand each other better. Do you have a moment? She asked. I need your help with something. They walked to her office in the embassy building. The walls were covered with pictures of humans and working together. Construction projects, scientific research teams, even some children from both species playing together at a new school. Look at this, said, showing him a book on her desk. The cover was written in symbols. It's published. My book about human psychology and behavior. That's amazing, said, picking it up. How many copies? 2 million so far. It's required reading in schools now. Looked proud but also embarrassed. I couldn't have written it without you. You taught me everything. You learned fast, faster than most humans would learn ways. I had good motivation, smiled. Mother says I'm not a proper anymore. I show too much emotion. I act too quickly. I trust my instincts. Is that bad? No, it's wonderful. She opened the book to a page marked with a ribbon. Listen to this part. I write about the day you saved me. I explain how humans don't think in emergencies. They just move. And I argue that need to learn this skill too. What did your mother think of that? She agreed. That's why she created the new doctrine. The doctrine of necessary action. It was Queen Ah's most controversial reform. The doctrine stated that ancient laws could be suspended when following them would cause greater harm than breaking them. It had sparked huge debates across the empire, but the queen had stood firm. She's facing a lot of opposition, said quietly. Conservative nobles think she's destroying tradition, but younger support her. They see the alliance with humans as proof that change can be good. Change is always hard, said, but it's necessary. Nothing stays the same forever. A message appeared on screen. She read it and smiled. Mother wants to see you in the throne room. She says it's important. They walked through the palace together, still marveled at the architecture. Soaring ceilings, walls that shifted colors, gardens that grew plants from a dozen worlds. He had never imagined he would live in a place like this. Queen Ah stood in the throne room with Ambassador Min and several high-ranking officials from both species. She saw and enter and gestured them forward. Of Earth, the Queen said formally. 6 months ago, I invoked the debt of crown. I said your life belonged to me and you would serve until I released you. Felt his heart sink. Was she sending him away? Had he done something wrong? Today I release you from that debt, Queen Ah continued. You have served with honor and courage. You saved my daughter's life twice. You exposed a conspiracy that would have destroyed our alliance, and you taught my people that there's strength in diversity. She stepped down from her throne and approached him. In her hands was a crystal medallion on a silver chain. More than release you, I honor you. This is the Star of Preservation, the highest award in the Empire. Only 5 have been given in our entire history. You are the first not to receive it. Bowed his head as she placed the medallion around his neck. The crystal felt warm against his chest. But that's not all, the Queen said. I also grant you citizenship in the Empire. You are now a citizen of both Earth and our. You belong to both peoples. The room erupted in applause. Humans and alike clapped and cheered. It was a sound had never heard before in a space. They were learning to celebrate, to show joy openly. Ambassador Min shook his hand. Congratulations, you've made us all proud. I just did what felt right, said, still stunned by everything. That's exactly why you deserve this, the ambassador replied. Later that evening stood on a balcony overlooking the capital city of The sky was a deep purple, filled with 3 moons and countless stars. Below, the city glowed with lights from buildings and vehicles. Somewhere down there, humans were living and working together. Wu found him there. So you're a big hero now, got the medal, got the citizenship. What's next for the great? I don't know, he admitted. I thought I'd be dead 6 months ago. Everything since then has been unexpected. That's life, especially with humans involved. Wu leaned on the railing beside him. You know what I think? I think you should keep doing what you're doing, training people, helping them understand each other. We need more of that. Maybe, touched the medallion. It's strange. When I tackled Princess, I was just trying to save one life. I didn't think about consequences or changing the world. I just acted. And that one action changed everything, Wu said. Saved the princess, exposed a conspiracy, started a revolution in how 2 species see each other. Not bad for a split-second decision. Princess joined them on the balcony. She had been in another meeting but looked relieved to be finished. There you are. I've been looking for you. What's up? Asked. I wanted to tell you something. Looked out at the city. Remember when I said Mother thought I wasn't a proper anymore? I've been thinking about that, and I realized something. I don't want to be a proper, not the old kind anyway. What do you mean? I want to be a new kind of, one who can think carefully and act quickly, one who uses logic and trusts instinct, one who honors tradition but embraces change. She smiled at him. I want to be like you taught me, the best of both worlds. I think a lot of people feel that way now, Wu said. Look at those kids down there in the mixed schools. They're growing up with both cultures. They won't see each other as aliens. They'll just see friends. Watch the city lights. Wu was right. A whole generation was growing up different, better. They would build something new together. Hey, Wu said suddenly. Remember what you said in your cell, that some things are worth dying for. Yeah. I think we found something even better, something worth living for. She gestured at the city, the people, the future spreading out before them. This, all of this. Nodded slowly. She was right. He had been ready to die for doing the right thing, but now he got to live to see the results, to see 2 species learning to understand each other, to see fear become friendship. Come on, said. Mother is hosting a celebration dinner. Humans and eating together. Can you imagine that 6 months ago? No, admitted, I really couldn't. They walked back inside together, 3 friends from different worlds. Behind them, the city lights glowed in the purple twilight. Somewhere in those streets, a human child and a child were probably playing together, not knowing or caring that their friendship would have been impossible just half a year ago. Touched his medallion one more time. the star of preservation, given for saving lives and preserving the future. He thought about that split-second decision in the ceremony hall, the moment when instinct took over and he moved without thinking. That moment had saved Princess. But more than that, it had saved the possibility of peace. It had shown two species that they could learn from each other, protect each other, and build something better together. And it had all started because one human refused to let someone die, even if it cost him everything. Some things were worth dying for, but as Wu said, some things were even more worth living for. This alliance, this friendship, this future. This was one of those things. Smiled and followed his friends inside. The future was waiting, and for the first time in his life, he couldn't wait to see what came next.